The Arcturians. Welcome back to the series on alien species visiting Earth. If you caught our deep dive on the Pleiadians, those tall, blond, almost human-looking beings with their messages of peace and spiritual growth. Today we're shifting gears to a group that's a bit more mysterious, a bit more ethereal, and deeply rooted in channeled wisdom rather than physical abduction stories. We're talking about the Arcturians. First off, the name comes from Arcturus, that bright reddish-orange star in the constellation Bootes, about 36 light-years from Earth. It's the fourth brightest star in our night sky, and in UFO and New Age literature, it's said to be home to an advanced civilization. But unlike the Greys or Nordics with their roots in eyewitness sightings and abductions, what we know about Arcturians comes mostly from channeled messages, psychic readings, and spiritual visions. There are no famous mass abduction cases or crashed craft linked to them, at least not in the public record. Instead, they're described as highly evolved spiritual beings who interact with humanity on a subtle, energetic level. One of the first credible references to Arcturus as a source of advanced beings comes from Edgar Cayce, the famous American psychic and sleeping prophet from the early 20th century. In his trance readings over 14,000 documented sessions from 1901 to 1945, Cayce described Arcturus as a gateway or portal to higher dimensions. He called it the center of the universe in a spiritual sense, a place where souls pass through for evolution and enlightenment. Cayce said Arcturus was home to beings far more advanced than humans, involved in guiding souls through incarnations and helping with spiritual growth. In one reading 2828-1, 1932, he stated that Arcturus is the highest civilization in our galaxy. Beings who have mastered technology and spirituality, using light and sound for healing and travel. Cayce didn't give detailed physical descriptions. His readings were more metaphysical, but he portrayed Arcturians as benevolent guides, focused on humanity's ascension and the balance of karma. This set the foundation for later channelers who expanded on the idea. Fast forward to the modern era, and the most influential source on Arcturians is Norma Milanovich's 1990 book, We the Arcturians. Milanovich, a New Mexico-based channeler and teacher, claimed to receive telepathic messages from Arcturian beings starting in the 1980s. In the book, the Arcturians describe themselves as a fifth-dimensional race from a blue planet orbiting Arcturus. They say they're here to help Earth transition to a higher vibrational state, especially during times of crisis like environmental collapse or nuclear threats. So, what do they look like, according to these channeled sources? From Milanovich and other channelers like David K. Miller, Connecting with the Arcturians, 1998, Teachings from the Sacred Triangle, 2002, Patricia Pereira, Songs of the Arcturians, 1996, Eagles of the New Dawn, 1997, Tom Kenyon, The Arcturian Anthology, 2013, and Janosch, Arcturian Art and Activations. The descriptions are fairly consistent, though more spiritual than physical. Height, often 3 to 5 feet tall, but some reports say up to 7 feet in their light body form. They're described as slender and elongated, build ethereal and light-based, not solid like humans. They can appear semi-transparent or as beings of pure light energy, shifting between forms. Skin, blue or bluish-white, sometimes luminous or glowing. The blue tone is said to come from their high vibrational energy field, not literal pigmentation. Hair, little to no hair. Heads are often bald or with minimal covering. Some descriptions mention energy auras instead of hair. Eyes large, almond-shaped, and golden or amber-colored, radiating warmth and wisdom. The eyes are emphasized as portals to higher consciousness. Facial features: high foreheads, small noses and mouths, no ears or minimal. Overall, an androgynous, elongated face that conveys peace and intelligence. Clothing, flowing robes or energy fields in white, silver, or blue tones. They don't wear physical suits but project garments as part of their light form. Behavior and communication. Arcturians are portrayed as highly spiritual, compassionate, and focused on healing. They communicate telepathically or through light codes, sacred geometry, and sound frequencies. Their messages emphasize ascension, raising vibration, healing the planet, and activating human DNA for higher awareness. They're said to work with light technology for healing physical and emotional ailments. David K. Miller, a channeler and founder of the Group of 40, expands on this in his books. He describes Arcturians as masters of energy work, using crystal temples and starships for planetary healing grids. They're involved in protecting Earth from cosmic threats and guiding lightworkers through meditation and activations. Patricia Pereira's channeled series portrays Arcturians as guardians of Earth's evolution, helping with the shift to 5D consciousness. They describe their society as egalitarian, telepathic, and focused on unity consciousness. Tom Kenyon, a sound healer, channels Arcturians as beings who use sound and vibration for transformation. His book includes meditations and exercises based on their teachings. Janosch, a Dutch artist, creates Arcturian sacred geometry activations, visual codes said to be channeled from Arcturians to raise frequency. Wayne Brewer, How Arcturians Are Healing. Planet Earth 2012 describes Arcturians as blue light beings who remove negative entities and assist with ascension. Jose Arguel, deceased 2011, linked Arcturians to Mayan calendar teachings, describing them as galactic time travelers. Gregory Zorzos has written on Arcturian symbols and runes. The consistency across these channelers spiritually advanced, focused on healing and ascension, and communicate through energy/light/sound rather than words. They're not aggressive or abductive. Interactions are voluntary and meditative. Edgar Cayce's trance readings on Arcturus, 1930s to 1940s. Edgar Cayce, widely known as the Sleeping Prophet, remains one of the most documented psychics in American history. Between 1901 and his death in 1945, he gave more than 14,000 documented trance readings while in a self-induced hypnotic state. These readings covered health diagnoses, past life interpretations, spiritual teachings, earth changes, and esoteric cosmology. A recurring theme in hundreds of these sessions was the spiritual significance of certain star systems, with Arcturus standing out as one of the most frequently mentioned and highly revered locations. These sessions were conducted in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where Cayce lived and worked for most of his adult life. He would lie down on a couch, enter a self-induced trance, eyes closed, breathing slow and deep, and respond to questions posed by clients or his stenographer wife Gertrude. The answers were recorded verbatim by a secretary and later typed and indexed by the Association for Research and Enlightenment, the organization Cayce founded to preserve and study his work. All readings are archived at the ARE headquarters in Virginia Beach and have been publicly available for decades through their library and published volumes. In these readings, Cayce described Arcturus not as a mere physical star, but as a spiritual gateway or center in the cosmic scheme. He called it one of the principal stations or way stations that souls pass through during their evolutionary journey between physical incarnations. In Reading 5753-1, 1933, he stated that Arcturus is the center of this system in a metaphysical sense, a place of high spiritual vibration where souls are prepared for higher levels of consciousness or return to Earth with advanced understanding. He repeatedly said Arcturians are those of the highest development in this solar system, beings who have mastered the laws of light and sound and use these forces for healing, guidance, and the balancing of karmic patterns. Cayce did not provide detailed physical descriptions of Arcturians in the way modern channelers do. He portrayed them as non-physical or light-based guides, entities operating beyond the material plane, more as pure consciousness or energy forms than flesh and blood beings. Their role, he said, was to assist humanity through incarnations, offering counsel on karma, spiritual growth, and the proper use of free will. In several readings, he linked Arcturus to the Akashic records, the universal memory of all souls' experiences, and described it as a place where souls review their progress before choosing their next life. One of the most quoted passages comes from Reading 294, 131, 1936, where Casey said, "Arcturus is that which may be called the highest of the spiritual centers from which those who have attained to the Christ consciousness may pass into other realms or return to aid in the Earth's evolution." In Reading 2828-1, 1932, he described Arcturus as a point where the soul may find the greater development in its return to the material plane, implying that souls who have passed through Arcturian influence return to Earth with heightened spiritual awareness or healing abilities. Casey also tied Arcturus to broader cosmic cycles. In Readings on Earth Changes, 1930s to 1940s, he suggested that shifts in planetary vibration would be influenced by alignments with Arcturus and other systems. Preparing humanity for a new age of enlightenment, he emphasized that Arcturians are not here to interfere directly, but to guide through subtle influence dreams, intuitions, inspirations, and the inner promptings that sensitive individuals feel during meditation or crisis. The primary source for all of this is Casey's own readings, preserved verbatim in the ARE archives in Virginia Beach. Thousands of these readings have been published in book form: Edgar Casey on the Akashic Records, Edgar Casey on Atlantis, and various ARE compilations. The organization continues to make them available to researchers and the public through their library and online database. Significance: Casey's references to Arcturus are historically significant for several reasons. They predate the modern New Age channeling movement by decades. Milanovich, Miller, Pereira, Kenyon all came in the 1980s to 1990s. They are among the earliest Western esoteric mentions of Arcturus as a source of advanced, benevolent, spiritual beings. They established key themes that later Arcturian channelers repeated: use of light and sound, focus on ascension, healing grids, and concern for Earth's transition. Unlike many contactee abduction cases, Casey's readings were not self-promotional. He never claimed to be special or to have met Arcturians personally. He simply reported what came through in trance. For clients asking about soul origins, past lives, or future events, critics argue that Casey's cosmology reflects the early 20th century occult revival, Theosophy, Rosicrucianism, and that Arcturus was a popular mystical symbol in those circles. Skeptics also note the lack of physical evidence and the subjective nature of trance readings. Supporters counter that the consistency of his descriptions across thousands of unrelated sessions, combined with his documented accuracy in medical diagnoses, verified by doctors in many cases, lends credibility to his metaphysical insights. Regardless of interpretation, Edgar Casey's trance readings on Arcturus remain the earliest widely documented reference to Arcturians in Western esoteric literature. They predate the modern channeling era by 40 to 50 years and laid the foundation for the benevolent, light-based, spiritually advanced Arcturian archetype that persists in New Age and UFO communities today. Norma J. Milanovich's Initial Channeled Contact, 1980s. Norma J. Milanovich stands as one of the most influential figures in the modern Arcturian channeling movement. A university professor and lifelong spiritual seeker, Milanovich began receiving what she described as direct telepathic communications from beings identifying themselves as Arcturians in the mid-1980s. Her work, particularly the book We, the Arcturians, published in 1990, is widely regarded as the foundational modern text that introduced Arcturians to a broad audience and shaped their image as benevolent, high-dimensional planetary healers. The channeled messages she received during this period remain among the most detailed, consistent, and frequently quoted in Arcturian literature. The contacts began around 1985 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where Milanovich lived and taught. She described the process as spontaneous and unexpected, while in a meditative or relaxed state at home. She would suddenly become aware of a strong, clear mental presence that identified itself as a collective from Arcturus. The communications were entirely telepathic. No audible voices, no visible beings at first, just a powerful stream of thoughts, concepts, and emotional impressions flowing directly into her consciousness. She said the experience felt like being plugged into a higher frequency, with information arriving faster than she could speak or write it down. To capture the messages accurately, she began recording them verbatim on paper or tape, during or immediately after each session. The beings described themselves as fifth-dimensional entities from a blue planet orbiting Arcturus. They did not name the planet, but emphasized its blue hue and high vibrational nature. They explained that Arcturus is not merely a physical star system, but a nexus of advanced consciousness. Home to beings who have evolved beyond third and fourth dimensional limitations. They portrayed themselves as a collective operating as a unified mind, rather than separate individuals focused on assisting planets in transition, particularly Earth during a critical shift in consciousness. The core message was urgent, yet compassionate. Earth was entering a period of great change. Environmental crises, nuclear threats, societal upheaval. And humanity needed to raise its vibration to avoid self-destruction. The Arcturians said they were here to help with this transition through light technology, healing grids, DNA activation, and energetic realignment. They emphasized that humanity is not alone. Many star systems and dimensions are watching and assisting, but free will remains paramount. They would not intervene directly unless invited through conscious intent, meditation, prayer, or group focus. Milanovic described the Arcturians' appearance in their projected or light body form as luminous, blue-white beings approximately 3 to 5 feet tall, though they could appear taller in certain visions. They were bald with large golden or amber eyes that radiated warmth and intelligence. Their features were androgynous, smooth, elongated faces with no pronounced gender characteristics. Instead of physical clothing, they projected flowing robes or fields of light in white, silver, or pale blue tones. Milanovic stressed that this was a projected form, how they chose to appear to human perception rather than their true essence, which she described as pure light or energy consciousness. Communication was telepathic and deeply emotional. Milanovic said the messages carried an overwhelming sense of love, urgency, and lecture in a linear, intellectual way. They transmitted concepts, feelings, and symbolic images simultaneously. She often felt as though she were being shown rather than told. Visions of healing grids encircling the planet. Light beams connecting ley lines or human DNA strands being activated by incoming energies. The most active period of channeling was 1985 to 1989, during which Milanovic compiled hundreds of pages of transcripts. These formed the basis of her 1990 book, We, the Arcturians, a true experience co-authored with Betty Rice and Cynthia Plosky. The book includes verbatim channeled dialogues, explanations of Arcturian society, egalitarian, telepathic, focused on unity consciousness. Their technology, light-based, vibrationally driven, and their mission, assist Earth's shift to fifth-dimensional awareness. The Arcturians described Earth as a school for soul growth and said they were helping to stabilize the planet's energy field during a time of transition. The book became a cornerstone of Arcturian literature. It popularized the idea of Arcturians as planetary healers and lightworkers guides, influencing later channelers like David K. Miller, Group of 40, Patricia Pereira, Songs of the Arcturian series, and Tom Kenyon, Hathor/Arcturian soundwork. Milanovic's portrayal of blue-white light beings, large golden amber eyes, and telepathic love/urgency became the standard template in New Age circles. Milanovic continued teaching and channeling into the 1990s and beyond, leading workshops, meditations, and Arcturian activation sessions. She emphasized that anyone could connect with Arcturians through intention, meditation, and raising personal vibration. She never claimed exclusivity. Her role was to serve as a clear channel and share the messages openly. Skeptics view the material as imaginative or archetypal, reflecting 1980s New Age themes, ascension, light grids, DNA activation. Supporters point to the consistency across independent channelers who had no contact with each other, and the transformative effect the teachings have had on readers and workshop participants. The significance of Milanovic's initial channeled contact cannot be overstated. We, the Arcturians was the first major published work to give Arcturians a detailed voice, moving them from Casey's metaphysical mentions to a fully articulated role as Earth's healers and ascension guides. It laid the foundation for the modern Arcturian archetype, luminous, benevolent. David K. Miller is one of the most influential and enduring figures in the modern Arcturian channeling movement. A channeler, meditation teacher, and founder of the Group of 40, a global network of meditation circles. He has claimed a direct telepathic contact with Arcturian beings since the 1990s. His work stands out for its practical, community-oriented approach. Rather than focusing solely on personal messages or dramatic encounters, Miller emphasized group meditation, energy activations, and planetary healing grids as the primary way to connect with and receive guidance from the Arcturians. His books and ongoing teachings have created one of the largest and longest-running organized Arcturian communities in the world, with the Group of 40 still active internationally today. The channeled sessions began in the early to mid-1990s, most actively from 1995 through the early 2000s, though Miller has continued receiving and sharing messages into the present. His books and ongoing teachings have created one of the largest and longest-running organized Arcturian communities in the world, with the Group of 40 still active internationally today. The channeled sessions began in the early to mid-1990s, most actively from 1995 through the early 2000s, though Miller has continued receiving and sharing messages into the present. His books and ongoing teachings have created one of the largest and longest-running organized Arcturian communities in the world, with the Group of 40 still active internationally today. The channeled sessions began in the early to mid-1990s, most actively from 1995 through the early 2000s, though Miller has continued receiving and sharing messages into the present. The primary location for his personal channeling was Sedona, Arizona, a well-known energy vortex area that Miller and many others believe amplifies spiritual contact. However, the real heart of his work is the International Group of 40 network. Small groups of 40 people, or multiples of 40, who meditate simultaneously in different cities and countries, creating a global grid of focused intention. Miller claimed the Arcturians instructed him to form these groups to amplify healing energies and anchor higher frequencies on Earth during a time of planetary transition. In his sessions and books, Miller described the Arcturians as masters of energy work and higher dimensional consciousness. They presented themselves as fifth-dimensional and higher beings from a blue planet orbiting Arcturus. They explained that Arcturus is not just a physical star system, but a hub of advanced light technology and spiritual evolution. The Arcturians said they are here to assist Earth's shift from third-dimensional, material, fear-based consciousness to fifth-dimensional, unity, love-based awareness. They emphasized that humanity is at a critical juncture facing environmental collapse, nuclear risks, and the planet from cosmic threats, negative energies, asteroid impacts, or interdimensional interference, while guiding lightworkers through activations. Physical description from Miller's accounts is consistent across his books and lectures. Communication is entirely telepathic and multi-layered. Miller said the Arcturians transmit concepts, feelings, images, and sound frequencies simultaneously, often faster than linear language can process. Messages arrive with a strong emotional tone of love, compassion, and urgency, but without fear or judgment. The Arcturians repeatedly stressed unity consciousness, collective responsibility, and the power of group meditation to anchor higher vibrations on Earth. Key themes from Miller's channeled material include planetary healing grids. Arcturians use crystal temples, energetic structures on higher planes, and starships to maintain and repair Earth's energy field. DNA activation and ascension. They assist lightworkers in activating dormant DNA strands to prepare for 5D consciousness. Protection from cosmic threats. Shields against negative energies, asteroids, or interdimensional interference. Sacred triangle teachings. A concept of balancing mind, Pleiadian, body, Arcturian, and spirit, Sirian, for human evolution. Group meditation. The group of 40 people meditating at the same time worldwide, creates a powerful collective field to amplify Arcturian energies. Miller's primary published sources are Connecting with the Arcturians, 1998, foundational text with channeled dialogues, meditations, and explanations of Arcturian society. Teachings from the Sacred Triangle, 2002, expands on the Pleiadian-Arcturian-Syrian collaboration. Teachings from the Council of Light, 2007, deeper teachings on ascension and planetary grids. He also produced numerous audio recordings of Arcturian sound activations, toning, chanting, and vibrational exercises, and continues to lead Group of 40 meditations worldwide. The significance of Miller's work lies in its community focus and longevity. Unlike solitary channelers, he built an active global network. The Group of 40 has thousands of participants across dozens of countries. Meditating on specific dates with Arcturian guided intentions, planetary healing, peace, ascension. This organized structure has kept the Arcturian message alive and growing for over 30 years. Miller's portrayal of Arcturians as blue light beings, 3 to 5 feet tall, luminous, large golden amber eyes, bald, androgynous. Projecting robes of light became the standard modern template echoed by later channelers and artists. Skeptics view the material as New Age imagination, influenced by 1990s ascension themes. Supporters point to the consistency across independent channelers, Milanovic, Pereira, Kenyon, and the positive personal transformations reported by Group of 40 members. David K. Miller's channeled sessions and the Group of 40 network remain one of the most organized and enduring expressions of Arcturian contact. They shifted the focus from individual encounters to collective planetary healing, making Arcturians. In the eyes of many, the spiritual architects of Earth's awakening, Patricia Pereira's Songs of the Arcturian series, 1990s. Patricia Pereira's Songs of the Arcturian series stands as one of the most poetic, spiritually rich, and enduring contributions to modern Arcturian channeling literature. Active primarily in the mid to late 1990s, with the core channeling period from 1993 to 1997. Her work shifted the tone of Arcturian messages from purely intellectual or technical guidance to a deeply emotional, vibrational, and heart-centered expression. Pereira's books are less about scientific explanations or warnings and more about awakening the soul through beauty, sound, and unity consciousness. Her channeled material remains among the most lyrical and musically oriented in the genre, emphasizing light codes, sacred sound frequencies, and the power of collective heart resonance. The channeling began in the early 1990s in Washington State, where Pereira lived at the time, and intensified after she relocated to Sedona, Arizona, a location she and many others in the New Age community consider a powerful energy vortex that amplifies spiritual contact. She described the process as spontaneous and overwhelming, while in meditation or quiet contemplation. She would feel a sudden influx of high-frequency energy, followed by a clear, loving presence that identified itself as Arcturian. The communication was entirely telepathic and multisensory. She received not only words and concepts, but also vivid images, emotional impressions, and most notably, sound vibrations or songs that carried out these sounds physically in her body as tones, harmonics, or waves of light, which she later transcribed into poetic prose and meditations. The Arcturians described themselves as guardians of Earth's evolution and protectors of the planet's ascension process. They said they are helping humanity shift from third-dimensional, fear-based, ego-driven consciousness to fifth-dimensional, unity, love-based awareness. They emphasize that Earth is undergoing a critical vibrational upgrade, and that lightworkers, individuals who are consciously raising their frequency, are key to stabilizing the transition. Their messages focused on healing the planet's energy grids, activating dormant human potential, and restoring harmony through sound, light, and collective intention. Physical description from Pereira's accounts is consistent and ethereal. Communication was telepathic, emotional, and profoundly vibrational. Pereira said the Arcturians did not speak in linear sentences, but transmitted entire concepts, feelings, and sound frequencies simultaneously. The messages arrived with an overwhelming sense of love, peace, and urgency, often described as liquid light pouring into the heart. She emphasized that the communication was more felt than heard. The songs were literal vibrational codes that carried healing and activation energies. Many of her books include guided meditations and sound-based exercises designed to help readers attune to these frequencies. The primary sources are Pereira's published trilogy, Songs of the Arcturians, A Call to Remember, 1996, the foundational book containing verbatim channeled messages, meditations, and descriptions of Arcturian society as egalitarian, telepathic, and focused on unity consciousness, Eagles of the New Dawn, 1997, expands on the Arcturians' role in guiding lightworkers and protecting Earth's ascension grid. Songs of Melantor, The Arcturian Saga Continues, 1998, deepens the narrative with stories of the Arcturian homeworld, their history of assisting planets, and more advanced teachings on sound and light. All three books are written in a poetic, almost lyrical style, blending channeled dialogue with personal reflections and guided exercises. Pereira presented the material as a call to remember, an invitation for readers to reconnect with their own higher dimensional origins and participate in Earth's healing. The significance of Pereira's series lies in its spiritual and vibrational orientation. While earlier channelers like Norma Milanovic focused on intellectual explanations, DNA activation, grids, technology, Pereira emphasized the emotional and sonic aspect sound as a carrier of consciousness, light as a language of love, and the heart as the primary receiver. Her work helped shift Arcturians from cosmic technicians to cosmic musicians and heart healers, influencing later sound healers, Tom Kenyon, and meditation practitioners. Skeptics view the material as imaginative or archetypal, reflecting 1990s New Age themes: ascension, 5D consciousness, light codes. Supporters point to the consistency across independent channelers: Milanovic, Miller, Kenyon, and the transformative effect the teachings have had on readers. Many report profound personal healing, synchronicities, and a deepened sense of unity after working with her meditations. Patricia Pereira's Songs of the Arcturians series remains one of the most poetic and spiritually oriented bodies of Arcturian channeling. It popularized the image of Arcturians as blue-white luminous beings, 3 to 5 feet tall with large amber/golden eyes, bald heads, androgynous features, projecting robes of light focused on healing, unity, and ascension through sound and vibration. Her work helped cement Arcturians as the compassionate vibrational architects of Earth's awakening in the modern spiritual community. Tom Kenyon's Arcturian Transmissions, 2000s to 2010s. Tom Kenyon is one of the most respected and innovative figures in the intersection of sound healing, consciousness expansion, and channeled spiritual teachings. A former psychotherapist, musician, and sound alchemist, Kenyon began receiving what he describes as direct transmissions from Arcturian beings in the early 2000s. His work stands out because it is not purely verbal or intellectual, unlike many channelers who deliver messages through spoken or written words. Kenyon translates Arcturian guidance into powerful sound frequencies, tonal meditations, and vibrational practices. He presents the Arcturians as beings of pure consciousness, who use sound and vibration as their primary tools for transformation, healing, and dimensional ascension. The channeled sessions span the 2000s through the 2010s and continue to the present in some form, with the most active and influential period occurring from roughly 2003 to in various locations across the United States, primarily his home studio in the Pacific Northwest, workshop venues, and retreat centers, but the work is not tied to one place. Instead, it is designed to be portable. Recordings of the sound transmissions are meant to be used anywhere by listeners in meditation or daily practice. Kenyon described the initial contact as gradual and subtle. During deep sound meditation sessions, often involving overtone chanting, Tibetan bowls, or his own vocal toning. He began to sense a distinct presence, clear, loving, and highly intelligent, that identified itself as Arcturian. The communication was telepathic and multidimensional. He received not only concepts and words, but also precise sound frequencies, tonal patterns, and energetic codes that he was instructed to vocalize or record. He said the Arcturians do not communicate in linear human language, but transmit entire vibrational packages: sound, emotion, imagery, and knowing, all at once. His role was to translate these into audible form for others to experience. Physical description from Kenyon's accounts is consistent with other modern Arcturian channelers, but emphasizes their non-physical nature. The Arcturians describe themselves to Kenyon as beings of pure consciousness, who have evolved beyond physical limitation. They said their primary work is planetary healing and dimensional ascension, helping Earth and its inhabitants shift from third-dimensional, material, fear-based consciousness to higher dimensional states, 5D and beyond, characterized by unity, love, and expanded awareness. They emphasize sound and vibration as the universal language of creation, using specific tones, overtones, and frequency patterns to activate human energy fields, clear blockages, and align personal and planetary grids. A central theme in Kenyon's transmissions is the Hathor connection. The Arcturians often spoke through or in collaboration with Hathor energies, ancient Egyptian cow goddess archetypes of love, sound, and fertility. Kenyon's Hathor/Arcturian sound pieces are designed to stimulate the pineal gland, heart chakra, and higher centers, facilitating emotional healing, intuition, and multidimensional perception. Messages repeatedly focused on dimensional ascension, moving from 3D to 5D consciousness through personal vibration and collective intention. Planetary healing, using sound to repair Earth's energy grids and mitigate environmental damage. Emotional transformation, clearing fear, anger, and trauma through vibrational resonance. Unity consciousness, emphasizing that all beings are interconnected, individual awakening contributes to global shift. The primary sources for this work are the Arcturian Anthology, 2013, a comprehensive collection of channeled messages, meditations, and sound healing exercises. Numerous audio recordings of Hathor/Arcturian transmissions, including the Ethos, Light of the Akasha, and the Upper Rooms series, workshops and live events, 2000s to 2010s, where Kenyon led group sound meditations and shared live transmissions. The significance of Kenyon's work lies in its practical, experiential focus. Unlike purely verbal channelings, he translated Arcturian guidance into actual sound frequencies that listeners can use for meditation, healing, and consciousness expansion. His recordings are widely used in sound healing communities, and many report profound shifts in emotional release, heightened intuition, and a sense of connection to higher dimensions after consistent listening. Skeptics view the material as imaginative or archetypal, rooted in 2000s New Age themes: ascension, 5D consciousness, sound healing. Supporters point to the consistency across independent channelers, Milanovic, Pereira, Miller, and the measurable effects of the sound work, brainwave changes, emotional regulation reported by practitioners. Tom Kenyon's Arcturian transmissions remain one of the most respected and practical expressions of Arcturian contact in the sound healing community. They tie the Arcturians to direct experiential tools, toning, meditation, and vibration, making them accessible for personal and planetary transformation. His portrayal of Arcturians as luminous blue-white light beings, 3 to 5 feet tall with large golden amber eyes, bald heads, androgynous features, projecting energy fields instead of physical bodies, has become a widely accepted modern archetype. Are Arcturians real? We have no hard physical evidence like craft crashes or mass sightings. Everything comes from channeled sessions, psychic readings, and spiritual experiences. Edgar Cayce's readings are the earliest, 1930s to 1940s, but they're metaphysical, not descriptive. Modern descriptions started in the 1980s New Age movement and grew with the internet in the
dismiss it as
1990s. Imagination or archetype blue beings as symbols of spirituality. Throat chakra is blue. Supporters point to the cross-channeler consistency and personal transformations from the teachings. The Arcturians stand out because they feel like spiritual mentors, not invaders. If real, they're the healers of the cosmos, guiding us through our own evolution. That wraps our look at the Arcturians. In the next video, we'll dive into another species. Hit like if this resonated, subscribe for more, and comment. Have you ever had a channeled Arcturian experience? Let's hear it below.